Elizabeth, welcome to the podcast. I'm happy to have you here because this is a topic we haven't covered yet on this podcast. So, we're going to be talking about weighted blankets today and really the nervous system and sleep and how we can get better night's sleep and calm that nervous system. So, listeners might be thinking, how are you going to talk for this long about a weighted blanket? There's actually a lot that goes into them and studies behind them. And I've been recently sleeping with them, so we can talk a little bit about my experiences as well. But I'd love for you to start with just your backstory and how you even got into this industry. You're the founder of a wonderful company called Baloo Products, and I'm very happy with the product that I was sent. So tell us how you got started here and why you're so interested in this topic.
Yeah. Well, I ended up discovering weighted blankets serendipitously, but the way it started was that I was feeling a little, I think, burned out, like on kind of a soul level in life. I was in my mid 30s and single and, you know, working in New York and doing all the things and just feeling like, is this it? And questioning a lot of things. So I ended up leaving my job and subletting my apartment and going to Bali on a one-way ticket. And it sound like to me it sounds great when I think back on that time, but at the time I can remember it being extremely scary and I was embarrassed, actually to be doing that, to say that, I can't figure it out and I'm gonna stop trying and kind of go on retreat. It didn't sound very cool to me at all. But I had been saving up and kind of knew that's what I was going to end up doing. And so while I was there, I had this really magical experience and the gift of the time that it actually took to let my body relax again and do, I would say, like a very deep reset on every level. I think a big beneficial part of being in a place like Bali is there's not a lot of advertising, messaging, there's just not as much inundation on the senses, and there's a lot of nature. And so I would end up rising with the sun and going to bed super early once it got dark, and just allowing myself to be more in tune with nature. And I remember kind of feeling day by day and week by week, oh my gosh, like my stomach feels that knot is gone, or it's gotten even more relaxed, and I didn't know I was holding on to anything. And so that was really a beautiful gift of time. Anyway, long story short, I wanted to keep living that way. I didn't want to go back to cubicle life or city life per se. And if I did, I wanted to have a little bit more of a freedom plan, backup plan. So I thought I was starting a side hustle. I was doing some product research and I discovered, there's this thing called a weighted blanket, and there's actually a lot of people searching for them right now online, just based on the data I was seeing. And when I look around at what's being sold right now, it looks like a lot of polyester and a lot of bags weighted at the time with plastic pellets. Um, and I was like, this is not something that speaks to me as a consumer. So I think this is a really exciting opportunity. So I went to a trade show and picked up a sample of one and brought it back with me, tried it out. I was still in Bali at this time. I tried it out in the middle of the day, fell asleep so deeply, unexpectedly, that when I woke up sort of on a natural wave of a nap cycle, I think it was something like 20 minutes later, I just felt even more relaxed than I'd ever been, and like I had traveled to some distant land. I was like, what just happened? It was really a magical experience. And even more so, more reason why a product like this that you're going to use on a personal level for a deeply like reconnecting with yourself type of experience should be done in a way that's using very high quality materials, and just everything about the business and the way that we conduct ourselves also is aligned with best practices and respect for people, respect for ourselves and our communities. So I can go into all of the detail about that stuff, but just really on what led me to the product, and then why Baloo was. It was a profoundly moving experience, and I think it's something that we all need to have, which is the chance to calm, reset, and soothe our nervous system. And then, I mean, we can talk more about sleep too, because they're really wonderful tools for sleep. But for me in that moment, it was um, a moment of reconnecting with myself.
Yes. No, and I have a lot of respect for your story because, like you said, well, I was kind of embarrassed to leave New York and feel like I wasn't figuring it out. But it's like you can change that and do something about it and know that what you're doing isn't what is meant for you as a person or stay stuck. And my listeners know, especially my longtime listeners know that I struggled with adrenal exhaustion for decades and just
Mm.
kept burning myself out and burning myself out. And, you just get stuck in the hustle culture and everybody just feels that to a degree. And it's like, I mean, you are in New York City. I'm in like pretty rural Wisconsin, south of Green Bay, where, I have a big yard and I still was feeling it. Like, oh my
Yeah.
gosh, my nervous system is just fried. So some of us, I mean, Bali, I mean, I can't even, how long were you there?
Oh, I first went for 3 months, so I
Okay.
thought, okay, I'm good. Like I've been here 3 months. I'm great. Like my cup is filled. So I returned to New York and got reverse culture shock. And so
Oh, okay.
that was a pretty low point because, I thought that I'd unlocked something for myself only to find out it was a vacation high.
Yeah.
Um, and so then I bought another ticket back, and that was the leap of faith moment because at that point I'd already gone through all my savings. And I had to make a very deliberate choice about what was I willing to risk and what was worth it for life, basically. And so it was something I gave a lot of thought to, and it was the right decision because I think when you take those leaps of faith, and then the answers sort of come to you as you like you build your parachute as you're falling, as they say, or like building your road as you go. So I ended up getting a freelance contract from my prior employer. So then I had an income and things just seemed to work out from there. So I knew I made the right decision in the end, but it was a big decision. So I ended up being there about a year and a half on and off. And I tried to continue living there once I launched the company, but it took off much faster and bigger than I had hoped or dreamed that it would. And so it became a full-time job right away. And the time zone just didn't quite work out
Yeah.
with being on
Yeah.
the other side of the world.
Yeah. Yeah. Your circadian rhythms were not really in line if you're going
Yeah, I
back.
mean, you can only get up as so early. I mean, I'd wake up at 4:30 because I am a morning person, but then you only get an hour or two for calls, and it's just not going to work. I can't do nighttime calls.
No, no, me neither. I'm like done. Like late up, like my
Yeah.
kids would get home from school or work. It's like, nope, okay. Like we're shutting
Yeah.
down and my brain does not work, does not fire on all cylinders
No.
anyway. But yeah, and I'm sure, there's some people think, well, I can't go to Bali for, 3 months or whatever. But this is a great way. Like even if you can only unplug for a week or so here and there, like there are lots of tools around us and little things that we can do that stack up. And like every time I interview somebody or I get sent a product and like I love it and it helps me, I'm like, gosh, it's just one more tool that I can recommend to people struggling with the same thing. And there's I'm in my late 40s. Sounds like you're in your
I'm
30s.
in my mid 40s.
Oh, you are. Oh my gosh, you look amazing.
Thanks. Sleep.
But it's like we are in this space where everything is changing, like hormones are changing and blood sugar
Mhm.
starting to not be quite as regulated. And I know for me, my children are more grown, but now we're sandwiched in between like raising kids and ailing parents. And anything we can do, even if it's just like cozying up with a weighted blanket, that can have profound effects on our nervous system and our overall health and our sleep and so much. So let's start from square one. Like, what is a weighted blanket, and how did you say,
Yeah.
okay, like, you slept with one and immediately
I
felt
thought it was
relief from
amazing.
it? But yeah, let's go back. Like, what if people haven't heard of them?
Yeah, and then I had friends like I had the one sample, and so there was a waiting list of friends that were each taking it home and trying it. And what's amazing too is like you talk about how it helps with sleep and stress and anxiety, and I would be telling like an Uber driver in Bali, this is what I do, and everyone's stressed. Like people living in paradise. And that was
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
heavy on my mind, was that I got this opportunity that most people can't because of responsibilities, either work, financial, or older family members that we're taking care of. And so this was a tool that people could incorporate into their daily lives. Um, in a smaller way than what I was getting to experience, but I felt so incredibly fortunate to have that experience. And now I would say my life is not like that. I'm running a business that's, we're in our year 7. And so I'm also looking for all of the ways every day that I can support myself and incorporate these kinds of healing tools. Um, Too. So I'm my own customer, that's for sure. But the way that weighted blankets work in general is actually pretty simple and straightforward. And I think that it's like kind of one of the things that's so wonderful and elegant about them is that, once they kind of became a trend, I would say, or like people started to become more aware of them, I think part of the reason for that was it just makes so much sense intuitively. It's like, why haven't we been using these forever? And it works through the mechanism called deep pressure touch, which is, been studied in hundreds of scientifically peer-reviewed scientific studies to produce the effects that weighted blankets also produce. But it's the same thing like when you're being swaddled as a baby or held in an embrace or massaged. And it really helps the nervous system turn off out of the fight or flight. And it happens almost instantaneously. So for myself, like I am always an aspiring meditator.
Me
Um,
too. I'm
yeah,
not good at it at all.
it's my New Year's resolution for 2025. I can't believe it's almost June, and I'm still working on that one. But the wonderful thing I think about a weighted blanket is that it is a passive experience. You just put it on, lie down, and your body kicks in and does the rest automatically. So it simply is just a blanket sewn with stitched compartments that contain, I mean, for most weighted blankets that I've seen, I've heard of people making them out of linked chainmail, for example. Like I've seen that on Reddit, but most weighted blankets are stitched, quilted pattern, and they have something inside. It used to be plastic poly pellets. Thank goodness it's gone away from that. We were one of the first brands to do glass microbeads, but that's what most companies use now. So that's what gives them the weight. And ours can weigh anywhere. Our mini for kids weighs 9 pounds, and then our king size weighs 25, which isn't actually so heavy because it's really spread out across the bed. So I'd say our heaviest one is a 20-pound full queen size blanket. Um, and it's just this gentle, even pressure over the body that signals to the body that it's safe and it can let down its guard. And there's a cascade of changes in the body when that happens.
Yes, yes. And I'm sure the people who have used one feel the effect. So I was telling you before we started recording that we've had weighted blankets in our house for a while. Like I got two for my sons years ago. And one of my sons kind of struggles with anxiety a little bit and nail biter and just kind of a nervous Nelly. And I'm like, oh, sleep with this. And he's always been, I think both of my boys. So one is almost 20 and the other one's 16. Like they're metabolically, they're just
Yeah.
like churning out the heat and that. And he's always
Yeah.
been like a hot sleeper since he was a kid. Like he's just hot all the time. And he slept with it. He's like, I like it, but I'm just like, I'm so hot you wearing it. And I can't remember the weight. And it was glass beads in there, but I don't think it was cotton. So it was
Hmm.
probably a polyester or some sort of unnatural synthetic. And
Right.
my other son's still like, he's almost 17 and he still sleeps with his. He's been sleeping with it for years and he'll even
Mm.
sleep with it in the summer. But what I've noticed about your blanket, so you were kind enough to send me a throw, which was perfect because my husband does not buy into all of the things that
Yes.
I sleep with and, all my little quirks and all of my little health things. And I'm like, okay, if I get a queen size right away, he's gonna be like, what is this now? But the throw is perfect because I can use it during the day if I'd like. But at nighttime, like I have that thing on me and it's perfect for my size and it just stays
Mhm.
on my side of the bed. And I make my bed with the weighted blankets underneath my like my sheets and everything. And then I just like, you don't even know that it's there. But I thought I would be hot with it. And even though it's not real warm in Wisconsin, our
Right.
summers are hot. And I'm like, okay, well, probably just be more of a fall, winter, early spring thing for me. But we've had some warmer days. And I tell you what, like that thing is perfect for the nights where it is warmer, but I don't want all my other covers on. I just put the weighted blanket on and it's perfect. I'm like, oh my gosh, I can sleep with this all summer. I don't feel hot. I never have woken up, sweaty. Not that that happens to me very often. It does every once in a while, but I've never wanted to be like, oh, I got to throw this thing off because it's breathable, but yet has that pressure on it. So, I'm really excited about it and excited about it for the summer because I can like toss my other covers off and just have that on. So yours is just cotton and the glass beads, correct?
Yes. In the beginning, when we were new to the product, it was cotton and we had a lining of polyester inside, and then it was the glass beads. But um, years ago, we realized that for many reasons, having an all natural bedding is better. And so now we just have a cotton batting and cotton lining inside. And it's really nice cotton too. It's kind of like you can buy sheets at TJ Maxx for $25 or you can buy them for $1,000 and their sheets are sheets, but they're different quality and it's about the fabric and the feel of the textile. And so that's why our price point is higher versus what you might find with Amazon Basics cotton weighted blanket, but theirs has polyester inside. Um, and so, yes, and that the reason for that coolness is the first thing people usually will ask about is, but won't it make me hot? Like that's the thing that comes to mind because you're saying it's a heavy blanket. But for one thing, cool temperature is one of the most important things for optimizing your sleep anyway, any time of year. So having it be cool and breathable is really important. Um, I was living in the tropics and I
Yeah.
was you know, like beyond excited about this discovery. And I was like, well, this isn't a seasonal thing. This is for people to sleep with. And so you need to be able to sleep with it all year, all climates. This is a health tool. This isn't like a seasonal thing. So that's another reason why it was so important to us to make it cool and breathable. And I've had feedback from friends and family, like menopause, premenopausal, saying like, holy smokes, like I'm not waking up bathed in sweat. I'm actually sleeping and this is helping me. And that's the best thing to hear. And I have a 4-year-old and he's a hot sleeper too. And I mean, we still co-sleep. I'm trying to evolve that, but that's our reality right now. And so I know his sleep habits very well. And he goes to sleep with that on him too, because it's actually like there's something about it that's cooling. I don't know why, because we don't have like cooling tech. I've seen these other options on the market and they're usually kind of synthetic, but they are cool to the touch. So it's not like that. It is just cotton, but there's a coolness to it. So it keeps him cool all night too. And it definitely helps him sleep. So mom loves that.
Yes. Yeah, it's almost just like a weighted sheet. Like
Yeah.
it's that breathable and a night, like you said, like the nice cotton breathable sheets. But with your 4-year-old co-sleeping, like
Hmm.
it's every year that he stays. I mean, like, because our youngest is almost 17 and he'll still like snuggle with me before bed.
Oh.
Like, and they used to all like 3 kids. This is hilarious. I think I've maybe mentioned this on the podcast a few times, but when they were younger, my husband travels quite a bit for work. So he's gone a fair amount of the time. And they had a chart, like all 3 of them wanted to sleep with me whenever dad wasn't home. And they had like, they would fight. They'd be like, no, it was you last time. No, it was you last time. So
That is
make a chart.
adorable. I
We had to
love
make a
that.
chart so that because they would literally get in fights like, I'm sleeping with mom this time. No, you did it last time. So I kept that chart. I still have that chart and I laugh at it every time I look.
Amazing. That's so great. I loved hearing that. Yeah.
Yeah, so let's go back to the weight because the one that I have is 12 pounds. Is there Is it kind of dependent on like just your personal, like
It
what?
really is like personal preference. And so that's a little bit tricky because most of them are sold online.
Yeah.
But the guidelines that we've kind of, I mean, there definitely is this rule of thumb that's really public is to say to choose 10% of your body weight. So if you weigh 150 pounds, that means you would get a 15-pound blanket. However, I would say that that's just a very high level guideline and also depends on the size of the blanket. Like we were saying, we have a 25-pound king. Well, I mean, divide by two because you're really only going to sleep under half of it. Oh, sorry, we have a
You're
dog here. I don't know if
right.
that's coming in. I'm in a dog office. um,
No, my
so
dog just is growling because she hears your dog. Okay, it's okay.
um,
We'll be good.
Okay. So we just typically generally will recommend the 12-pound throw because we've sold over 100,000 blankets, and that is just the one with like an almost 0% return rate. So it
Yeah.
seems like the Goldilocks for people. I mean, whether you're 100 pounds or 200 pounds or whatever. We also have comforters, but I will say about that is that oftentimes that a person in a couple situation, there's one person that feels like using it that night or doesn't want to or whatever. So that's why we think having personal, like the throw size is also really great. Um, Not to mention washability. Like you can throw that in the machine, the washing machine in the dryer, and it's so easy to take care of it. But kind of going just back to the weight question, the guidelines that we give are to choose like a 12 or 15-pound blanket generally. And then don't go to the heaviest option if you have any kind of joint pain like knee pain or backache or hip ache, any of that kind of going on with you because it can irritate it overnight if you're sleeping for 8 hours with a lot of weight on your body. And same goes for if you're older, like we kind of say if you're 65 or 70 or older, get a lighter weight. I think it's for the same reason, just the musculoskeletal system being really robust. And I mean, of course, this is just a guideline. It doesn't apply to everybody. Um, and or especially if you are any of those things and also a side sleeper. Just don't go for the heaviest weight, go for the lighter.
Okay, that makes sense. And when you wash it, should you wash it just by itself or can you wash it with other
You
things?
can wash it with other things. It's a
Okay.
cold wash, yeah, just gentle cycle for longevity, I guess you'd say.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. All right. So any studies, I think if I remember correctly, your company maybe did a study on weighted blankets. Tell us about that.
We did. So last fall, or just 6 months ago or so, we partnered up with a company called Friends, and it's an AI tech band that you can wear on your head that collects your biometric feedback with an 88% accuracy rate as compared to being in a sleep lab. But the beauty of it is you don't have to be in a sleep lab, so you can be in your own bed, which is obviously a lot more comfortable and easier to sleep. Um, so a Friends Brain Band is a very cool piece of sleep tech on its own. It's not only for collecting biometric, it also uses meditation based on your own brain waves to keep you asleep. So if it notices that you might be getting really light sleep and you're about to wake up, it will come back on and it will introduce sound to kind of put you back to sleep. And the theta brain waves, or I'm probably not describing it completely accurately, but using AI to do that. So it will be considered cognitive behavioral therapy device. Now, we partnered with them to measure the impact of using the weighted blanket on sleep. We had 4 nights with 40 volunteers, and these were people with a range of sleep quality. So, not all people struggling with sleep, it was also people with great sleep who were just volunteering. And we did nights with the blanket, with the band audio on, with the band audio off, and then a control night with no blanket. And what we found was that, 78% of people said that the weighted blanket had a beneficial impact on their sleep quality. But we saw 27% improvement in sleep onset latency, so time to fall asleep.
Yeah.
And then sleep efficiency increased to 92% using the weighted blanket. And sleep efficiency is just measuring how well you're able to sleep through the night without having to get up or waking up. And then it was 94% when paired with the brain band. So that was the best outcome. And then deep sleep duration increased by 10%. And then what I think is the most fun thing that we measured was feelings of readiness to start the day. And so that improved by 10%, which it's only 10%, but it's a pretty great thing to improve if you wake up and feel ready to start your day. That's a great way to feel in the morning. So that was the result of that study, and that was using our weighted blankets. And we've done another study in the past with the university measuring the impact of anxiety with weighted blankets, and that was a statistically significant improvement in anxiety in college students using the weighted blanket. And in that case, they were using it for 2 hours during the day, not at night.
Oh, interesting.
So I always laugh a little bit because I'm like, well, I don't know if that's because they had to sit down for 2 hours. Maybe they
Right.
that was good for them. But anyways, it was statistically significant, and I feel like that's really awesome to hear because anxiety in young people is, as we know, only increasing.
Yes, yes. I have two college kids. Well, I have to admit, my daughter just graduated
Oh, congrats.
last year, or sorry, last week. She just graduated last week. So, but she's still finishing up her student teaching. So she's still, still kind of in the thralls of it. But yeah, and my middle one, who I was talking about with the anxiety and just being a little anxious, he just finished his sophomore year. And he's the one who's just too hot. But I'm like, I should try like one of your products,
Mm,
just
hmm.
hot and lighter weight, and see how he likes
How
that.
it does.
Um,
Yeah.
for sure. So I would imagine, so first of all, I've never heard, I don't know how, I haven't heard of the Friends Brain Band. Like I have, that is new to me.
Yeah, it's
Like in the
kind of
space that I'm
new.
in, I'm surprised I haven't heard about that. But that seems really interesting. Is that available to anybody to try?
Sure, yes, it's
Yeah.
available for purchase. I think that the price is $6.95 to buy
Okay.
it. It's Friends, FRENZ, and I met them at a biohacking trade show. And they've been on product development for I think more than 5 years. They're funded by all of the big investors. I can't think of, I mean, I'm not in that space. I'm
Yeah.
self-funded, but Berkeley and universities, Oxford. And they've gotten awards at CES 2 years in a row for the Consumer Electronics Show.
Nice.
So it's a very exciting piece of sleep tech. Definitely worth checking it out. And they were really great to partner with us. I mean, they were interested in getting the data as well and getting the experience with doing studies with brands like us. So it was a really good partnership.
Yes. And like you said, 10% in deep sleep, 10% readiness, like those are pretty substantial when you stop and break it down, especially as we age and we're going through transitional times, like 10% can be a big deal. And you couple it with a few other changes or a couple of other tools and pretty soon you have 25 to 30% increases and feeling like
Mm, compounding effect. Yeah, and one thing I really like about weighted blankets is that, like I myself included, will spend a lot of money on supplements every month. And I see a functional medicine doctor. And this is a one-time purchase that you can use. We even have a lifetime guarantee on it. So you can add it to your sleep stack. And in addition with everything else that you're doing, it's a good investment.
Yes, I absolutely agree. And I agree about the supplements. And although they can be super helpful in
Yes.
a lot of ways, they can get really expensive. And yeah, something that you're investing in just one time is always helpful. So with this study, so we talk a lot about blood sugar and nervous system regulation, cortisol. Is there anything that's been studied with weighted blankets with those biometrics or the labs or any of those types of things that you can speak about?
Yes, the studies related to cortisol and serotonin and melatonin are coming out of research on deep pressure touch, not specifically weighted blankets. But we know that deep pressure touch reduces cortisol and increases serotonin. And serotonin converts to melatonin, and that's why you kind of get sleepy and fall asleep so easily with the weighted blanket.
Yes.
Um,
So I
yeah.
always tell people like your sleep starts right in the morning with your cortisol
Mhm.
and getting outside during special times of the day to increase your serotonin. Later convert
Yeah.
melatonin.
What's what I
It's a
it's
full circle.
It's so fun because you put it on and then, it's one thing to describe an experience and it's another to have that experience. But to feel, oh my gosh, like I feel good. What's happening is really neat.
Yes. Along those lines with cortisol, because if we can try, we can work on our cortisol balance and regulation, especially if it's high at night when we're supposed to be winding down and going to sleep. And maybe we have an inverse pattern of cortisol where it's high at night and lower in the morning. And then we don't want to get up, but we're wired and tired at night. A lot of times, and we see these upticks in blood sugar at nighttime, and we're not sleeping as well because our blood sugar isn't stabilized. So working on the cortisol is really helpful. Have you seen like any, like even with people that have used your products because they've better regulated their cortisol, that's better regulated their blood sugar, better regulated their insulin, and like seen weight, like has weight loss been a benefit of people who have used your products?
Well, we haven't specifically studied weight loss, but I know that sleep impacts your hormones and everything you just described in such a way that it really, really is a major contributing factor to losing weight. I would say as much, if not more so, than diet and exercise.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, I wouldn't say it's more important than those things, but I would say it's as important because it affects your hormones, the ghrelin and leptin, that control your feeling of fullness or cravings so much. I know I went on a cruise one time and we had a cheap, cabin with no windows, and I ended up sleeping a lot of hours every night and it was wonderful. And I got off the cruise and I lost weight. It seems like most people go on cruises and they eat and drink so much and they come off like they gain 5 pounds. I like lost weight and I think it's because I was getting so much great sleep.
There's no light in here.
There's no light. I was on vacation.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, it's definitely the trickle down effect. And I think weight loss, we've talked on podcasts so many times. There's so many layers to what can be impeding weight loss or keeping that, body fat trapped and
Mhm.
unaccessible. And cortisol and insulin are huge players. Leptin as well. Like we've talked about leptin a lot on this podcast and how important it is to get that balanced. But leptin download happens around 12 to 2 a.m. The main download,
Mhm.
not sleeping well, it tends to peak when melatonin is peaking. So, all of these things definitely play a role. And like you said, like if you're not getting good night's sleep, you're more insulin resistant and not utilizing blood sugar as well. And it's just,
A
yeah,
cycle.
it can have a big impact. I would
Yeah.
imagine. So
Yeah.
what other I was looking on your website a little bit. What other products, I was looking in particular the weighted eye mask, because I'm like,
Yes, I love
the
that
sun is
one.
coming up at like 4:50 a.m. right now. And we have like blackout curtains, but they're still like, oh my gosh, I bet that pressure feels amazing.
Well, yes, I love the feeling of something on my face when I'm sleeping too. But it's a little about half a pound of weight there, so it's not too much. It's like maybe if you go to the spa and they put a lavender bean bag on your face, it's that kind of feeling of the
Mhm.
pressure. But they're made with mulberry silk, which is really nice for your skin, and my antimicrobial. And they have a crystal sewn in over the third eye, which I think is fun, either an amethyst or a rose quartz. And we used to make one with a purple fluorite that we don't have anymore, but I used to use that one and I would have these vivid dreams. And I don't know if it's because of that or not, but that's more of a feature for fun for me. But they're great for blocking out the light, which is, I think that a lot of times we don't realize how much light is in our rooms, especially like the blinking light on the TV that's turned off or the light creeping in, and it can really have a big impact on sleep quality as well. So these are fully light blocking and they have a Velcro closure so you can make it fit just right for your head, versus like an elastic band or something else.
Yes, yes. I'm gonna have to look into one of those, especially for traveling, because
Yeah.
you might have your personal space all set up perfectly and blackout, but then you travel and you're in a hotel room or a rental or whatever, and Like we just use
Or
that.
jet lag.
Yeah, or jet lag, yes. And I just had that when I was traveling. I forgot my eye mask that I have now, and there was like a window on the door, so there's no blind on it, like
Mhm.
a that went out to the patio, and it was just all night lights. Like,
Oof.
we were downtown. I'm like, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
like actually hang a towel over it, which didn't do a whole lot, but it was something. Um,
Yeah.
one other product that I saw on your website that I actually got my son and I don't know how much you know about these but we haven't used them that much, were the now meditation
I
speakers.
was
And like I
hoping
have them sitting right here and we haven't really used them. So tell
I
me
was
about.
hoping that's what you were going to say. Yeah, those are so cool. We don't make them, we resell them. But the reason we resell them is because my sister who works with me had a set that she'd ordered and loved them so much. And like, how much can I say about them? They're wonderful. They play a 3-minute loop, a 3-minute track. There's two of them. It's two little speakers. They don't require Bluetooth or an app to operate, which is very intentional. You just turn them on, set them down, and they play. And the creator of them is a Buddhist and an audio engineer. And so he got into a meditative state and kind of downloaded these sounds and excluded any sound that he thought that was his kind of intention, where he was trying to control or manipulate the sound. So it was just like a pure download. And every time you play them, it's a different sound so that your brain can never anticipate what's coming next. You can't get habituated to it. They play different sounds, so they kind of harmonize off of each other. And you can lie down and put one on either side of your head. So you have one kind of, you're balancing. Um, and they said, we've had requests to go for longer than 3 minutes, but they said their research was showing if you did 3 minutes, it was short enough to be incorporated every day for practice. And their research, their feedback from customers has been incredible in terms of teachers taking them into classrooms and having little children use them and getting much better behavior, kind of just calming and grounding the nervous system through this short 3-minute little sound bath. Um, so the thing about all of these things, and I'm laughing because I think it's the same for me too, which is we can have them and then we have to use them at the same time to get the benefit. So I'm laughing because I also have a set that I've been meaning to use at home with my 4-year-old and I haven't done it. I've forgotten. So this is my message, my reminder to myself to use them.
Yes, and now
Um,
my college kid is home. So, and even myself, like I have an aura ring,
yeah.
and I sometimes I'm like, oh, I've been like it's been in the stress zone for a good hour. Like I got to go outside. Usually, I go outside and do some deep
Mm.
breathing and just put my phone, like take no electronics with me, and I just sit there, and that usually brings my stress levels down pretty quickly. But if I'm not able to do that, and it's just like you said, it was so funny. I looked on the website, I'm like, oh my gosh, I have those. And he didn't take them with him. And I just put them in a basket in my office and forgot about them. So they're now meditation speakers are what we're
Yeah.
talking about.
Tone meditation speakers by Solu, and Solu is the company, and it's, I love their story. It's a husband, wife, and a sister that run the business, and even the factory that they work with is a woman-owned factory. I think it's Asia, Korea. I could be wrong, but they're just so intentional about the creation of the product. It's really beautiful.
Yes, I'm gonna bust it out today. And make myself like use them. And yes, and my daughter just graduated with a special education
Oh,
degree. So
nice.
if
This is a really
anything,
great
I would imagine she could
She
she could
could try them also with her kids.
in her classroom for sure. Okay, well, as we close out, anything else you'd like to mention that I didn't ask you about, that we didn't talk about? I guess there wasn't one other thing like with babies. Have you seen like in
Oh, we actually haven't done work with babies.
okay.
I'm very careful. I would be too careful around
Yeah, yeah,
babies. Um, yeah. I
totally
know
understand.
there's another company making weighted sleep sacks for babies.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and I've heard really nice things about those. Makes perfect sense.
Hmm.
Um, One thing that I am very excited about for the future for the business, and I kind of think like what people, and I use myself as the customer here, what I need is, I mean, sleep is tremendously important. It's a big market. People are looking for so many ways and will take risks and make investments to improve their sleep. So that's great for us. However, what I'm most excited about is somatic healing. So anything where we're doing mind body connection. And I've started to use our weighted lap blanket when I meditate, which, as I mentioned, I'm working on my meditation practice. Um, but I also do breath work, and I'm a huge fan of sound healings. So incorporating the weight in those kinds of sessions just to go a little bit deeper, um, and exploring too, like trauma release massage. I've heard some really inspiring stories of the weighted blankets being used in that kind of treatment for deeper trauma release.
Okay.
So we're exploring those avenues, and I'm really open to feedback. If any one of your listeners um, is curious or is experienced using weighted blankets in those ways, kind of in data collection mode on that too, and understanding how we can connect with more people in that way as well. So um, that's the only thing I would add about where I'm looking personally with the company.
Well, wonderful. And all right, so it's balooliving.com, correct?
BalooLiving.com is our website. We're also on Amazon for Amazon shoppers.
Okay.
And we've got a code for 10% off site wide for your listeners, Shanna 10.
Awesome.
And that will be live now. And then I would just say, depending on when this episode airs, to think about it for Father's Day, because dads need rest too.
Yeah. And they're so hard to, my husband, oh my, I can never think of any other than, okay, does he need another tool? Does he need another
So
home?
hard to shop for.
They're
Right.
terrible. They're
Yeah.
terrible to shop for. So,
Yep.
yeah, this would be a wonderful idea for sure. And like a family gift, it would be a wonderful.
Yeah. It's like gifting a hug. It's the feeling of a hug. So that makes some nice gifts.
Yes, for sure. Well, thank you for coming on today and talking about the weighted blankets and offering the code Shanna 10. We'll link that in the show notes for sure. I would highly recommend your blankets, even in the summer, as we talked about all different climates. They're wonderful. So thank you for your time today.
Thank you so much for having me. This was really fun.